years ago, Keir Starmer suspended Chief Whip Nick Brown for, quote, disturbing allegations of criminality of the most serious nature. And after 3 years of silence, it's time to reveal the truth. Hey up everyone and welcome to Political Nerds. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. Now of course, before I jump into this, the usual disclaimers. Do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. So let's kick off with this and actually explain what the deuce is going on. And so thanks to Marcus Agrippa on X, they say the following. Look, 3 years ago today, Labour's former Chief Whip Nick Brown was suspended for disturbing allegations of criminality of the most serious nature. The allegations were said to have threatened Starmer's position as Labour leader, and the truth has been hidden ever since. Is it time to reveal the truth? Hell yeah, it's time to reveal the truth. As Councillor Susie says right here, this has been going on for 3 years. So why isn't any information actually in the public domain to Keir? Now, this is the thing, right? I think it is time to reveal the truth. Now, there is some information in the public domain that could potentially maybe justify why they say Nick Brown was suspended for, quote, disturbing allegations of criminality of the most serious nature. Again, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. I'm just going to give you guys the information out there and you can come to your own deductions, right? But here, essentially, is the article that kicked it all off, right, a few years ago. Labour MP Nick Brown has Whip suspended after a complaint. And so The Guardian understands, they said at the time back in 2022, that the senior politician, the MP for Newcastle upon Tyne East, Nick Brown, who has been chief whip for every Labour leader from Tony Blair onwards, is under investigation after a complaint was made against him. He was one of Labour's longest serving MPs. He also had his party membership suspended until the case is resolved. And the nature of the complaint is unknown. And to this day, it's unknown, which is why people are now saying, look, 3 years on, we need to know the truth at this point. Now, in a statement at the time, Nick Brown said, quote, there's been a complaint made about me to the Labour Party, which is under investigation. I'm therefore under an administrative suspension from the Labour Party until the investigation is concluded. I'm not aware of what the complaint is. I'm cooperating fully with the investigation. Now, 1 year later, this article comes out, right? This was reported by The Express. 12 months on, Labour has no update into the investigation into Nick Brown. And so, commenting on the anniversary at the time, LBC presenter Ian Dale said, whatever the allegations are, does it really take a year to investigate? And I would say 3 years later, whatever the allegations are, does it take over 3 years to investigate and tell us the truth of what the deuce is going on? As Ian Dale says, tomorrow might be a good day for an update. I'd say today would be a freaking good day for an update. Now, shortly after this article was released, a year later, after Nick Brown was suspended for, again, disturbing allegations of criminality of the most serious nature. So shortly after this article, this then comes out. Nick Brown resigns from Labour over, quote, complete farce of the disciplinary process. Now, my question is, did he really resign? Or was he pushed? Right? Because here, the article says that in his resignation letter released via the legal firm Carter Ruck, Brown said that the complaint, the details of which have not been made public even to this day, came from a political rival within the party and concerned an alleged event said to have taken place more than 25 years earlier. He says, quote, "To be clear, the accusations against me were and remain entirely false, without even the faintest germ of any truth to them. Not only had they never previously been made in the ensuing 25 years, they had never been so much as hinted at, whether by that individual or anyone else. Saying there was no proper corroborative evidence, Brown lambasted the way Labour had handled the claims and the time it had taken, saying that at first he had assumed he could trust the party's disciplinary system, adding the claims made against him were very serious and it was important that they were looked at properly. However, he writes that the process had been structured and conducted in such a manner as to lack even the most basic of procedural fairness and evidential safeguards." So we know from what Nick Brown said in his resignation statement, that right there, that the alleged event that he's accused of was said to have taken place over 25 years ago, that the allegation's very serious, and that he also said that it was important that these allegations were looked into properly. So, question there then is, well, what's happened to this investigation? Why has it gone quiet? Why are we no further or no closer to the truth, right? Well, 2 years later, Labour essentially confirmed that they've buried the investigation and that it's over and done with. Here's the article from The Sun. Cop dodge. Labour did not tell police after learning of criminal allegations against ex-Chief Whip Nick Brown. Shadow Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood told Times Radio, quote, "Nick Brown's case has resolved itself because he stepped down." She defended Labour's internal complaints process that uses outside legal advice as previously saying, quote, "The public might be concerned that people are letting their friends off the hook and we are not in the business of doing that." She added, "It's for the complainants to decide if they wish to go to the police." Asked if she was confident that the party had done all they should have done in regards to Nick Brown, she insisted, absolutely. And if you're thinking, hang on a minute, I've just heard of that name recently. Yup. That's the same Shabana Mahmood who's now our freaking Home Secretary. Seriously, you cannot make this shiz up. And so they've buried the investigation. It's over and done with. As Shabana Mahmood said, it resolved itself when Nick Brown resigned. Which is why I say earlier on, did he really resign or was he pushed into leaving? Right? Because as soon as he resigns, as Shabana Mahmood said, the investigation resolved itself. Who benefited from Nick Brown resigning? And who benefited from the truth of this whole investigation being kept secret? For us, A, not knowing what the allegations are, and B, not knowing how the investigation actually took place and the findings of it. We know nothing at all. And so now there's speculation as to, well, 3 years later, what could this have all been about? Why could Nick Brown have been kicked out of the Labour Party for disturbing allegations of criminality of the most serious nature? What are these allegations? Why was he kicked out? Well, doing some research, guys, I actually came across this article that was released back in 2017. Now, again, do your own research, come to your own conclusions. I'm not saying that this in any way, shape or form is linked to the allegations, the investigation, or anything like that. I'm just letting you know that this is out there. Just interesting. Just an interesting thing to know. So here we go. Newcastle MP Nick Brown sues author over wholly false claims about his private life. And so Nick Brown at the time was suing author Tom Bower for up to £50,000 over what he said were wholly false claims about his private life. And so Tom Bower wrote a biography about former Prime Minister Tony Blair, published by Faber and Faber. It includes a claim that that Mr. Brown, Nick Brown, was accused by the News of the World of paying £100 to rent boys to be kicked around a room. Now, Nick Brown said that the claim's untrue, both because it didn't happen and because that's not what the News of the World reported. Interesting, right? Now, again, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that these were the allegations that led to Nick Brown being kicked out of the Labour Party, this, that, and the other, right? I'm just saying that this is out there. Now, what was exactly written in Tom Bower's book? Here we go. He writes, in the ensuing discussion about gays in politics, journalist Matthew Parris declared on BBC TV that Mandelson was gay. Days later, Nick Brown, the new Minister of Agriculture, was accused by the News of the World of paying £100 to rent boys in order to be kicked around a room and admitted to his sexuality. Yeah. Now, someone might come to the conclusion that that is a disturbing allegation of criminality of the most serious nature. Or it could be. Or it possibly could be. But again, very, very important to note out here that, again, there's no confirmation as to what the allegations against Nick Brown is about. We have no idea what happened with the investigation or even the outcome of the investigation, right? But doing some research, I found this information that's out there. Whether it's linked or not, don't know. Don't know. It's as simple as that. Don't know. But this information's out there. So I'm giving it to you guys. You guys come to your own conclusions, right? And how did this legal action against Tom Bower actually end? Well, here, in a statement from lawyers, they said that the parties are pleased to confirm that they've now resolved their differences in order to bring this litigation to an end. Mr. Brown accepts that Mr. Bower and Faber published the offending passage in good faith as part of a chronological political narrative and that they did not seek to adopt the allegations which they accept were untrue. Which, by me reporting on it, I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm not seeking to adopt the allegations at all. I'm just telling you guys what's out there, all right, and what's being reported on in the past when it comes to Nick Brown. Putting that out there, all right? Mr. Bower and Faber will get any distress or embarrassment that the publication may have caused to Mr. Brown, which was never intended. Once he was aware of Mr. Brown's concerns, Mr. Bower agreed to change the reference to him in subsequent editions of the book. Now, ultimately, this is, opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. I'm only just giving you the information that's out there in the public domain. But this whole fight between Nick Brown and Tom Bower, it's hidden a little bit in the Google results. But as I've just demonstrated, that story's there. In terms of what happened between Nick Brown and Tom Bower. And why Nick Brown tried to sue Tom Bower in the first place. Over something that Tom Bower wrote in his book. That if true, would indeed be a disturbing allegation of criminality of the most serious nature. Now, whatever Nick Brown was kicked out of Labour for, right? Get Labour out on X is saying, look, 3 years ago today, Keir Starmer shamefully decided it was a good day to bury bad news by belatedly announcing the suspension of Nick Brown. The British people, though, aren't allowed to know why. If the full details of this cover-up were to emerge, it would be the end of two-tier Keir as Prime Minister. And why, after all these years, are we not letting go of this? Why are we wanting the truth of the matter? Why is there all this speculation? Well, as Queen Bee says here on X, we are entitled to know what's happened. We paid his salary. And we're presuming he got to pay off our pension. And if he's taking money from the public purse, then the public have a right to know what happened. All NDAs, all injunctions need to be lifted. Ultimately, Shabana Mahmood, can't just turn round and say, well, you know what? The whole thing resolved itself because he stepped down. He stepped down. So the whole investigation, the whole allegations, all of it, it resolved itself because he stepped down. No, 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 no. Not resolved itself. He stepped down. So the Labour Party, in my opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, then had the golden opportunity just to sweep it under the carpet. Never to be spoken of again. Yeah, I definitely smell a cover-up here. It stinks of a cover-up. And two-tier Keir, yet again, at the centre of it all? Yeah, what the deuce is really going on? With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and unfortunately with the state of the UK at the moment, there's going to be more, then make sure you subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe here on YouTube. If you are watching on X, make sure you're following me at Steph Alter Nerd for, unfortunately, more stories as to the decline of the UK. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theories, whatever's. What do you think to this alleged Nick Brown cover-up situation? I mean, it stinks of a cover-up to me, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate all your faces, and until the next time, you guys, laters.